Imagine dedicating your entire life to one family, completing every mission, eliminating every target, following every order without question, only to be murdered the moment you become too strong. Meet Leon, the legendary shadow chief of the Robert family, an assassin so feared that entire kingdoms whispered his name. But after secretly mastering the ancient Ring of Fire, Leon did the impossible. He broke free from decades of brainwashing. For the first time in his life, he thought for himself, and that single act sealed his fate. His master, Ruth Robert, activates the terrifying rage worm hidden inside Leon's heart. Agonizing pain tears through his body. His heart begins to collapse. His death is guaranteed. But even with death staring him in the face, Leon refuses to kneel. Gathering every last ounce of strength, he launches one final suicidal attack. An attack powerful enough to wound one of the strongest monsters on the continent. It isn't enough. As darkness consumes his vision, a mysterious message suddenly appears. You have been chosen by rage. Before he can understand its meaning, he dies. Or at least, he should have. Instead of the afterlife, Leon opens his eyes as a baby. Somehow, he has been reincarnated. Not only does he retain every memory from his previous life, he also carries the same burning desire, revenge. His new mother, Sylvia, showers him with a love he has never experienced before. But his second chance comes with a cruel twist. He is born with the deadly bitter cold curse. 9 of his mana circuits are completely frozen. According to the greatest physician on the continent, the boy shouldn't even survive to adulthood. To everyone around him, Leon is nothing more than a fragile child waiting to die. Even the terrifying patriarch of the Sieghart family, Glenn Sieghart, appears cold and indifferent. At least, that's what everyone believes. Because behind closed doors, the feared Northern King secretly pours his own overwhelming aura into the boy's body, suppressing the curse and personally orders priceless fire attribute medicine. The man feared by nations quietly chooses to save his grandson. While the entire mansion sleeps, Leon trains, night after night, day after day. His body may belong to a child, but his mind is still that of the continent's greatest assassin. Instead of surrendering to the bitter cold curse, he turns it into his greatest weapon. Years of relentless cultivation finally pay off. The legendary Ring of Fire reaches its second ring. His body grows stronger. His mind becomes sharper. And for the first time, revenge no longer feels impossible. Then comes the Sieghart family's judgment ceremony, the event that determines every child's future. One after another, talented heirs amaze the crowd with incredible displays of power. Then, Leon's turn arrives. The moment he touches the ceremonial sword, almost nothing happens. Only a tiny white glow appears. Laughter spreads through the crowd. The nobles mock him. The maids whisper, the sickly outcast has failed. Or so they think. Suddenly, the entire hall explodes with blinding golden light. Golden flames. A legendary aura unseen since the founding patriarch himself. The laughter disappears instantly. Even Glenn Sieghart is left speechless. At that moment, everyone realizes the same terrifying truth. The weak child they mocked may become the greatest genius their family has ever seen. 7 years pass. Leon is now 12 years old. His Ring of Fire is on the verge of reaching the 3rd ring. His swordsmanship improves every single day. But before he can continue growing stronger, a new trial awaits. The Sieghart Basic Training. A brutal program that has broken even elite heirs. Because of his illness, Sylvia desperately begs for an exception. She knows her son could die. The patriarch refuses. If he cannot walk, then let him crawl. The crowd erupts with ridicule. They mock Sylvia. They mock Leon's weakness. They mock the sacrifices she made for her son. That's when Leon finally learns the truth. His mother gave up her own future, her own talent, her own dreams, simply to protect him. For the first time in both of his lives, someone chose him over themselves, and he refuses to let that sacrifice be meaningless. Stepping forward, Leon accepts the challenge. The patriarch unleashes his overwhelming aura. Enough pressure to make even seasoned warriors collapse. Yet the 12-year-old never bows. His legs shake. His body screams. But his eyes never leave Glenn Sieghart. The former assassin has made his choice. He will no longer live as someone else's weapon. He will become strong enough to protect the people who truly care for him, restore his mother's honor, master the greatest swordsmanship on the continent. The grind never stops. After years of relentless training, Leon finally reaches the 3rd Ring of Fire. The legendary technique not only makes him stronger, but also suppresses the bitter cold curse that once threatened to kill him. For the first time, his future no longer seems impossible. But there isn't a moment to celebrate. Patriarch Glenn personally orders the instructors to push Leon harder than anyone else. No special treatment. No excuses. No merci. Before entering the brutal training grounds, Leon learns the heartbreaking truth behind his mother's suffering. Years ago, Sylvia abandoned the Sieghart family to marry the man she loved. To protect him, she even sacrificed her own martial talent. But happiness didn't last. Her husband and eldest son were brutally murdered by the mysterious organization known as Eden. With nowhere else to go, she returned to the Sieghart family carrying nothing but grief. Since then, she has lived as an outcast. Hearing her story, Leon's resolve grows even stronger. He won't just become stronger for revenge. He'll restore his mother's honor, destroy the enemies who stole both of their lives. But that very night, something unexpected awakens. A terrifying presence emerges from deep within his soul. Wrath, the second lord of the demon realm. The demon lord immediately tries to seize control of Leon's body, flooding his mind with endless rage and freezing malice. Unfortunately for Wrath, he chose the wrong target. Leon had already endured a lifetime of torture, brainwashing, betrayal, and death. Compared to that, a demon's rage meant nothing. Using the third ring of fire and his overwhelming willpower, Leon completely resists the possession. Instead, he traps Wrath inside a ridiculous floral bracelet bound to his wrist. Even more shocking, the mysterious status window guiding Leon's growth was never a coincidence. It was actually a fragment of Wrath's own authority. Now, it belongs to Leon. Soon after, the long-awaited basic training finally begins. More than 160 young nobles gather at the training grounds, each hoping to prove themselves worthy of the Sieghart name. Among them is Bayan Sieghart, one of the clan's greatest young geniuses. The moment he sees Leon, he immediately looks down on him, dismissing him as nothing more than a weak outcast. Before the rivalry can escalate, head instructor Limer announces the first trial, a brutal endurance run. According to Limer, only a quarter of the trainees will remain. Panic spreads instantly. The young nobles pour aura into their legs, racing ahead with everything they have. Meanwhile, Leon deliberately stays near the back. To everyone watching, it looks like the sickly boy is about to collapse. But they couldn't be more wrong. As his body reaches its limits, Wrath continuously fills his mind with overwhelming malice. Instead of resisting it, Leon uses the ring of fire to refine the pressure itself, transforming mental torture into fuel for his own endurance. Step after step, he refuses to stop. When the run finally ends, Limer reveals the shocking truth. The elimination was nothing more than a psychological test. There would be no disqualifications, but there was one trainee who stood above everyone else. Out of 160 talented heirs, only Leon pushed beyond his physical limits without relying on shortcuts. Even Limer and Patriarch Glenn are forced to acknowledge his determination. His reward arrives immediately. The status window grants him a permanent increase to his physical abilities. Even Wrath is left speechless. Unfortunately, outstanding talent always attracts unwanted attention. Jealous of his performance, several older trainees surround Leon after training. They accuse him of using medicine to fake his strength. Big mistake. The former assassin doesn't waste words. Using the experience from his previous life, Leon effortlessly overwhelms them, leaving the bullies defeated before they even understand what happened. Watching the entire fight, Wrath can't hide his amusement. Then the Demon Lord makes an offer, a dangerous bet. If Leon becomes the #1 trainee in the official evaluation 6 months from now, he'll receive an extraordinary reward, a legendary trait capable of changing his future forever. But if he fails, Wrath's influence over his mind will grow stronger. The risk is enormous. The reward is even greater. Without the slightest hesitation, Leon accepts, because if he wants revenge, he'll have to surpass every genius standing in his way.